Hey you guys, what is up? Thank you guys for coming back again. Let's get into this one skillet creamy chicken and rice. You guys, this was so good and it was so quick and easy. It took me only about an hour. But before we get into that, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment, you guys, if you guys have any questions. If you're new here, welcome to the fam, and let's get into it really quick. So first and foremost, this is really easy. It's not too much work that goes into it. So I start off by cleaning my chicken. I'm not a fan of chicken skin, but if you are, you can always leave it on. Just make sure that you pluck off the feathers and all of that stuff. And I just soak my chicken in some vinegar, lemon juice, and salt. I leave it in there for about 10 minutes, and then I start to clean it up. I pull off the fat and I pull off the skin, and I just trim the chicken legs up just to make sure that they look good. If you're using chicken thighs, you can do that as well. You can leave the chicken skin on that as well if you want to. And this is the finished product after I've cleaned up all the chicken. So now for seasonings, I just go in with, I like to use herbs more or less than anything else. I'm not too much of a fan of seasonings that contain too much sodium, so I just go in with some garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, chili powder. For this recipe, I use some smoked paprika, and I also use some cumin, some coriander, some clove powder. I'm gonna link all of them below in the descriptions. And I want to say I use probably about a teaspoon of each seasoning. And I also added some salt-free Mrs. Dash. And I know you guys are going to ask about, like, okay, well, did it have enough salt? So what I did after this is that I went ahead and I took one of the Hidden Valley ranch packets, and I also added that to it. I just used one full packet. This was a 1 pound bag of chicken from Walmart. So I mean, if you're only using a couple chicken legs, I would say probably only use the half pack of the Hidden Valley ranch seasoning, because you don't want it to have too much salt. This was a nice low sodium recipe, by the way, so I'm not going to be using too many salty seasonings. And then I also drizzled some avocado oil on top of the chicken as well. And I just put some gloves on, and I just go into that and mix it up really nicely. And like I said before, this is the size of the ranch packet that I use. I use the whole thing because I did have a good amount of chicken. I was seasoning some more chicken to bake off, to just have like some lunch for myself for the week. So I meal prep my lunch. And I just put on some gloves, like I said, and I just give that a nice mix. Once I finish mixing and I make sure that everything is nicely fully coated and everything, I just put some plastic wrap on top of this, and I set it in the fridge for like a minimum of 30 minutes just so that the chicken can season properly. Now I'm just gonna use half of a white onion here. I'm just dicing it up really nicely. My sister was here, so she's a little bit finicky with like onions and stuff. This helps, especially if you guys have like kids. I would recommend dicing everything up, because you know how kids get when they see veggies sometimes. So I diced up those onions because she doesn't really like onions. When you dice them up, they're going to dissolve better. Now I'm taking 1 green pepper, and I'm just going to julienne that up. This was more so for like the presentation of it. I wanted it to look really nice because I was doing a TikTok video with it as well. Like I said, if you have kids, just dice it up really quick and it won't be any hassle. Or if you want to, if you really don't want them to see it, I would just dice it up or whatever, cut it up a little bit smaller, and then I would put it in to a food processor to just blend it up, almost like sofrito basically. If you have sofrito, you can use that too as well. That's a good substitute as well. And I'm using 1 red bell pepper as well. I'm just gonna chop that up, all the sides off, because we don't want to waste anything. And I know you guys see here how I got like a little bit of like white inside of the chops. I just took my knife and I just cut it out, and I rinsed them out, and I'm just julienning them like so again, just making sure that I have even cuts it's not really too much of a hassle for even cuts if you're just cooking it for your family. Now, after I finish my peppers, I just take them and I put them aside in a bowl. For me, this recipe works a lot faster if you guys just chop up everything that you need and get everything prepped before you start to cook. It'll make the cook time go a lot faster. These were my peppers after I finished cleaning them up and everything, and I just put them in a bowl like I said. I chopped up about a handful of parsley as well, really fine, and this was just to drizzle over the top. It wasn't too necessary. If you don't have parsley, it's okay, you can use the dried parsley as well, or if you have cilantro, you could use that as well too. Now I'm taking that chicken out of the fridge. After I took it out of the fridge, I let it rest for about, I want to say like 5 to 10 minutes on the counter, and then I'm taking it in a hot cast iron skillet. I have some olive oil in there. I want to say about half a cup of olive oil, and I'm just gonna get a nice crust on top of that chicken. So I just make sure that I lay them out really nice and even with good spacing in between them, because you want all the chicken to cook evenly on the outside to get like that nice crust. You don't want to overcrowd the pan, because then you're not gonna get that really nice brown, you know, like crust on there. I put the chicken in here for about 6 minutes on each side. My fire was on, my stove goes all the way up to 10 being the highest. So I had my fire on about 8 or 9. It's all up to your stove, like I say. So I just flipped that over after the 6-minute mark, and you just want to make sure, like I said, that it's turning brown, that there's a nice little crust on top of it. This is gonna help everything to go a lot faster in the oven. If you guys wanted to, you know, I seen people like just throw the chicken in with the rice and just mix everything up. If you really don't have the time, you can do that as well. Now, after I took that chicken out, I didn't throw away the oil. We're gonna use all of that, and we're not washing anything in between. Like I said, this is an easy 1 skillet recipe. I threw in that half of that diced white onion there, and I'm just cooking that down to deglaze that pan. It's gonna bring up all of like the little bits of chicken that's stuck to the bottom of the pan right there, and I'm just gonna cook that off until the onion turns translucent. So once those are nice and soft and cooked down, I add in my bell peppers here, and I saved about 6 pieces just to put on top of the top. Like I said, completely not required. I'm just mixing those around and making those soft as well. I'm cooking them down until they get soft as well. If you guys see that you have like any like big black pieces, it's just from the chicken, just take a spoon and just scoop it out. I'm adding in a teaspoon of minced garlic, and then I'm just gonna mix that around as well and cook it down till everything is nice and soft. Next up, I'm gonna go in with about 3.5 cups of washed rice. I use the quinoa rice. I'm gonna put it down in the description box as well, and I'm just gonna mix that around. While I was sauteing everything, my heat stayed on about medium to high. You don't want it too high, because then everything is gonna burn really quick, like the onions and stuff, especially the garlic. So you want to have it about a medium to high. Now, once all of the rice is mixed in with the vegetables, I go in here with a little bit of Tony seasoning. I want to say I used about half a teaspoon. And now I'm going to use the family size cream of chicken soup, and I'm just scooping that out and putting it straight in there. Next, I'm going to just take my spatula and just mix it around till I have all of the rice coated. Take your time with this part, because if you're like me and you're rushing, rice is going to go everywhere. So just take your time to make sure that you really combine all of the cream of chicken with all the rice, making sure that you're not getting any like patches of rice that you didn't miss or anything. Once you have that all combined, now go around with your spatula around the edge just to be sure. Like, I found some in the corner there. And once that is all combined, at this point you could turn off your heat. And now I'm going to take my low sodium chicken broth. I want a little bit more, so I take my low sodium chicken broth. and I just pour in about a little bit of it at a time. So what I do is I pour in a little bit and then I mix it up to try to combine it. And then once it's fully mixed, I want to just make sure that the chicken broth is covering all of the rice. And if it's not, I just go in and I just add in some more, just making sure that the chicken broth is covering the rice. There's no exact measurement, just make sure that all the broth covers the rice, because I know I'm gonna get that question. Like I said, take your time with this part, make sure that it's all mixed and incorporated well, especially with this part. You're gonna have a few splashes here and there, so just make sure that you take your time to mix it in very well. If you don't get it all mixed in from, like, you know, there's like some liquid on the edges, that's okay, that's fine. Just make sure that everything is evenly spread out. And then you take your chicken that you had on the plate that you seared before, and you're just gonna lay that out nice and even, like I said, because we want it to cook evenly. If you have more chicken, I would recommend just like probably laying them like horizontally, or like put one facing up, the next one facing down, one up, one down, if that makes sense. That's gonna give you more room for more chicken. It was only 3 of us, so I only put 6 pieces. And then those pieces of bell peppers that we had from before, remember I told you guys I saved about 6 of them. I'm just putting those to the top just for presentation wise, you know, it makes it look prettier. And I add in about a couple branches of thyme and 1 bay leaf. Now I'm going to spray, I also added in that parsley right here too, and I'm going to add in a little bit more once it's finished. Now I'm going to spray a piece of foil, and I'm just going to cover that nice, and I want to say tight, but you can't really get it tight, but you know what I mean. Just cover it very nicely on the skillet. Use another piece if you had to. Like, if you guys can see up here, I had a gap in it, so I just put on a second piece just to make sure that I was keeping everything insulated, you know. Now you want to set your oven to about 400 degrees. Once you get all of that foil covered on top of it, set your oven to about 400 degrees, and we're gonna place this inside of the oven for 20 minutes uncovered, 20 minutes covered, sorry. And then once that 20 minutes is up, we're gonna take off the foil, and then we are going to place it back inside of the oven for another 20 minutes until we see the chicken broth has all dissolved. And then we're going to broil it for about 3 to 5 minutes on high. When you guys are broiling, just make sure that you keep an eye on it. And this is the finished product. This was so quick and easy. The white sauce that I put on top was honestly just some cream of chicken soup, and I mixed in a little bit of heavy cream with it with some paprika, and that's it. Just drizzle that on top, and it's so good. This is such a great family meal. My boyfriend absolutely loved it. My sister went crazy over it. The rice was so creamy, and I love that top layer with like that little bit of crunch on it. It was so good. The chicken was so juicy. Everything was just chef kiss. Mwah. If you guys are new here, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you guys have any questions. I love talking to you guys so much. Thank you for you guys that have been here from day one. And like I said, if you're new here, welcome to the family. Let me know what you guys want to see. If you guys want to see more family friendly and cost effective recipes, just let me know and I got y'all. Thank you. Bye.